In today's video, I want to talk about my personal favorite books with dragons. But in order to do so, I have to take a big amount of books from my shelves. So hold on. So hi and welcome back, my fellow fantasy book lovers, or if you're new here, hi and welcome. My name is Kathy and I'm a fantasy book lover from Belgium. For today's video, I want to talk about my personal favorite books with dragons. Now, there is going to be a big variety here, from epic fantasy to urban fantasy to even romantasy with dragons. So let's get into it. The first book series that I want to talk about is actually a completed trilogy. The first book has a different cover than my other two, and it's incredibly annoying and incredibly ugly. However, this series is really good. This is the Fireborne trilogy by Rosaria Munda. The first book looks like this in the old cover design. There is a new design in the meantime come out. This is a young adult fantasy series. It does have a little bit of romance going on in it, but it's absolutely not a romantasy series. This is heavy with politics. There is a class system. You have the people who have money that get a bracelet of a certain color. You have to do tests to earn that bracelet as well. You're not just born into it, although being born in a higher class does help. And with these classes come certain benefits, advantages, or if you're a very low class, disadvantages. Now, we follow two main characters who both come from an orphanage, but both have very different upbringing. They are both passing the tests to get like the gold bracelet, which basically means that you are eligible to get a dragon and to become a dragon rider. And both of them actually end up succeeding in that. So that's where book one starts. They are both training with their dragons in this academy, being taught all sorts of things, from politics to war and to like combat strategies, etc. I loved these three books. I loved the two main characters. They are terribly flawed in some ways. There is a lot of backstory that you will discover in these books about the two main characters that I found really fleshed them as characters, and it made them, for me, so much stronger. Book one starts in one set place, but you will in book two and especially in book three connect to different parts of this world, and I'm not going to talk too much about it. All I want to say is that if you haven't read this yet and you like epic fantasy with dragons with a little bit of politics in them, then this is for you. I honestly like this a lot. It reminds me, like, it's not Game of Thrones. It's definitely not Game of Thrones, but it has that fierceness of the dragons. There is also betrayal happening, etc. So I really, really love this trilogy by Rosaria Munda. The next books with dragons that I want to talk about is not actually a series of books that I personally own, but that I actually listen to with my partner in our car. And these books are part of the Dragonlance series by Weis and Hickman. So it is D&D based fantasy books, basically. And we play D&D every Wednesday. D&D is something that we love. So having those themes pulled into a book was actually perfect. It really feels like you're following along a quest. Now, we are currently in the third book of the Dragons of Deceit trilogy. If you like that D&D feel, the epic world building, the really having that immersive feeling that you want from D&D sessions in your books, then I could highly recommend any of the books by Weis and Hickman, basically. But the advantage of this trilogy is that it is just finished, it is just completed. Book 3 is out for a few months only, so it's still relatively easy to find. Up next, I want to talk about When the Moon Hatched. This is definitely a fantasy romance novel where the accent is not really on the dragons in the book. It might seem like it from the cover design and the side design, but the dragons are just like part of the world in which When the Moon Hatched happens. So if you want a romantasy with a extremely badass female main character who, however, has the amnesia trope, like she doesn't remember who she actually is, she has faint recollections of it, but some parts of who she is are missing and they are coming back piece by piece during the book. So she starts off as an extremely badass assassin. She encounters him for the first time very early on in the book, and then things start happening. She's taken away for where she is now. There are dragons in this book. However, dragons are not the main factor that I liked this book. It is still a book with dragons, so that's why it's on this list. So if you want a fantasy romance with a badass female main character, this might just be for you. Another book series that I started reading, of which I personally really loved the dragons, is the Temeraire series by Naomi Novik. Again, a series that is my partner's and not actually my books. I have read book 1, however, and I did really enjoy it, but it's very political and very war team heavy, so that may or may not be something that you enjoy. But if that is something that speaks to you, where you have a lot of like political warlike things going on, it is very like our world based, but then with dragons. And the dragons have different types, like you have different races of dragons that behave differently, that have different abilities, etc. So I think the magic system of the Temeraire series is excellent, but I'm gonna wait until my partner has read more from it to see if it's something that I want to continue. Another book that I don't physically own a copy of yet is S.F. Williamson's A Language of Dragons. Just like the Temeraire series, for me it's a bit war heavy, but in these books we actually delve deeper into how dragons communicate. So dragons can actually speak, but they also have different languages that they speak, like among each other, etc. In this book we follow a young girl whose parents are arrested as being rebels against the government that is reigning the country, and in order to maybe save her family, she is actually taken away and she has to solve a specific language that dragons speak and translate it for her oppressors in order to be set free and have her family back, basically. I did enjoy the general setup of the book. I liked the main characters, I liked the dragons. However, I did not like the war aspect and like the rebels, government, things. Like, it's not what I enjoy most in books. However, if there is a book 2 coming out, I'm pretty sure I will read it. Up next is a chunk of a book. It is Priory of the Orange Tree. I have the very pretty spray painted edges. There is also A Day of Fallen Night. However, I have not read A Day of Fallen Night completely yet, so that is why only Priory of the Orange Tree is on my list. In Priory of the Orange Tree, we have a very big world build setup. This is definitely an epic fantasy with multiple point of views, multiple parts of the world that it's taking place in at first, and then everything comes together. There are dragons in this. The general plot line is all the good is fighting against the evil one, which is one of the dragons, obviously. I think it's even this one. And we follow different characters. So we have a servant who is not actually a servant, being like the assistant to the queen. The queen is this very powerful queen who is reigning over this part of the country. And the way how this country was founded was by the original slayer of the dragon, who was a woman. And now the queen status actually goes from queen to queen, so from mother to daughter. And there is not really kings involved as much in it as there is in other books. So a very feminist book. There is a sapphic romance line going on in this book as well. I really enjoyed it. I found it very complex read with a lot of depth, but not difficult to read and not difficult to know where you are at in the story. I would, however, not recommend reading other books mixed in with this one, because it is complex enough that you really need to keep thinking about it a little bit and not just put it aside, read something else, pick it back up, because then you will have lost a lot of the knowledge about the world. But I really enjoyed it, even if it's a chunk of a book. And then finally, I want to quickly address Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, and of course Onyx Storm. Are these my favorite dragon-based books? Absolutely not. But are they good books, and do I like the dragons in them and the way that the dragons are written? Yes, and that's why they are the final books on this list. Fourth Wing and Iron Flame are romantasy. It is extremely overhyped. I enjoyed book 1 and book 2. I did not enjoy book 3. I really hope that they pull it together for book 4 and 5, or I don't know how many books they're going to write anymore. In these books, if you don't know them yet, we mainly follow Violet Sorrengale. In book 1, she is forced and pushed into joining the Dragon Squadron. So there is a war college. her mom is actually like the principal of this war college, and Violet needs to go into one of the sections. She first wants to become a scribe, but her mother tells her, you need to become a dragon rider or you are unworthy of being part of our family. So she joins the dragon division, but she has to like face trials in order to enter it. They have to walk over a parapet. And they can die fairly easily during the first months of their training. So in book 1, we follow Violet as she's setting up and like going on this part of the school that she never really prepared for. And I think Violet has an invisible illness, which makes that she's often weaker than the others, that she doesn't have as much stamina, that she has a really difficult time actually being part of the squadron. She is picked by dragons, becomes a dragon rider, and that's where we go into book 2 as well. Now, the main thing that people tell about these books is, oh, the romance is so good. It's not. I personally don't really enjoy the romance in these books. I think Xaden is quite annoying. And Violet as well. So maybe I'm too old for these books and to relate to the main characters. I was definitely part of the hype when Fourth Wing and Iron Flame came out, but now that I'm looking at these with a more critical eye, I'm just like, meh. Meh is the best way to describe these. However, I feel like if you are new to fantasy reading and you just want to try and see if this is for you, I would definitely give it a go. I quite enjoyed book 1 and 2. Book 3 is not my cup of tea because several things in the book that happen and don't happen. The ending was really nerve-wracking of book 3 and I didn't like it. These books all end on extreme cliffhangers, which is the reason why you want to keep on reading, of course. I think in writing style it's very comparable to Akotar, so if you enjoy Akotar, I'm pretty sure that you will enjoy Fourth Wing and Iron Flame as well. So these were some of my current favorite books with dragons. I hope this gives you a little bit of insight and inspiration if you are looking for your next dragon read as well. Of course, if you have other books with dragons that you want to recommend, I'm all ears. Feel free to let me know in a comment down below which book you have enjoyed with dragons in it, what it was about a little bit, and how you would describe it to me. If you enjoyed this video, of course, feel free to give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you'd like to be, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I make new videos every week and I would love to have you for every single one of them. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!